Hey guys, this channel was a great way to meet new and interesting people.
Today we will interview Ashley, an American mom and wife living in the Netherlands. We thought her story was interesting and worth sharing with you, but we will let her introduce herself. So, hi Ashley, thank you for taking the time to do the interview with us. We've met actually through our YouTube channels, and we I realized we have a lot of things in common. So I asked you to do this interview with us, and yeah.
Share a little bit about your experience abroad and
Mhm.
yeah.
So let's just start with you telling us about yourself a bit and your family.
Sure. So my name is Ashley. I'm originally from the United States. I lived in Germany for a while when I was a teenager. I was a competitive figure skater, and I lived in Dortmund and Berlin for a couple of years before I moved back to the United States and ultimately met and fell in love with a Dutch man. And then I moved to the Netherlands in 2014. So we've been married since 2013, and I've lived here in the Netherlands since 2014. And in 2018, we welcomed our daughter, Faye, who is now 2 years old.
Nice. So could you tell us a little bit about your experience of having a child abroad?
Yeah. Definitely was a nerve-wracking experience. Having a kid anyway is kind of scary and new for the first time, but then also to do it in a system that's really different than the American system. The healthcare system is just so different in many ways, and the approach to pregnancy and childbirth is like night and day in America and the Netherlands. So, we see it more in America as a medical condition, and in the Netherlands, it's just a normal, natural thing, so to say. And, every woman does it. It's how everybody is born. So I had a lot of fear when I first was a patient, and it was already a bit of effort for me to see a doctor instead of a midwife. But then ultimately I did have some complications. I had not pregnancy complications, but I had a heart infection when I was in my first trimester, and I had to be hospitalized for a week. And I have to say that the healthcare I got was amazing. They were so thorough with everything, all of the tests and the aftercare. After I was released, it was truly top-notch quality. So even though I went into it with a lot of fear and considering going to Belgium, where the healthcare was a little closer to American norms, I ended up being very happy with the care that I got in the Netherlands, and all of my fears turned out to be for nothing. So
you would say that all in all, it was a good experience and you would do it again if it were.
yeah. And even though I did end up being able to stay with the doctor, I have to say that the midwife that I was seeing at the doctor's office was amazing. And she was German, actually. So maybe I was a bit biased since I tend to like German people and things. So that may have helped. Yeah, so she gave me some confidence, exactly. But it was really wonderful care, whether it was the midwife or the doctor. And the aftercare, that's something special in the Netherlands. I think they may have it in some other countries, but you have something called a kraamzorg. That's basically a nurse who comes to your home for 8 days after you come home from the hospital, and they help you, whether it's teaching you how to give the baby a bath, or watching the baby while you try to sleep, or with breastfeeding, or if you have older kids, they may help you with the older kids. They may do grocery shopping for you, clean your house for you, whatever you need. And it's all paid for by the insurance, the basic package of 8 days. And it was really helpful for us. We were completely paranoid as first-time parents, didn't know what we were doing. Yeah.
We've had a very similar experience.
Yeah.
We're very happy with the system and everything that we got, and this Hebame lady who helped us, baby and child, we felt safer having her around.
Especially with so many questions and uncertainties and things that we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
So you're part of an international couple and you're raising your daughter bilingual. So
Yes.
what are benefits and are there any cons to that you have seen in your experience?
I think that There are mostly benefits. I think that the more you learn, especially linguistically as a child, the better it is. You may experience some things like code switching, where you start a sentence in one language and end in another language. And if your child is speaking to somebody who doesn't speak one of the two languages, it could be a bit confusing.
Yeah.
But I'm lucky in that most people in the Netherlands do speak both Dutch and English. So we haven't really had any problems there. It's mostly a cute thing for us, whereas I'm sure in some other cultures with other language combinations, maybe it's more difficult. But what I've noticed is a con more for me than my daughter is that her Dutch has really gotten good. She is advanced for her age when it comes to Dutch. She really says complex sentences, and is above what her age group is, and her English is about what's normal for her age. But when I compare it to the Dutch, it's really strange for me, because I always imagine my daughter speaking her first language as English. But I think she has definitely a preference for Dutch at this stage. It's much easier for her. She will say, even to me, Dutch words before she says English words. And I kind of have to draw the English words out of her. So it's okay, because I know she's learning and she'll be all right. But the only con is for my own ego, I guess.
Yeah. You might have to catch up with Dutch probably later.
Well, I've actually decided I'm going, even though I speak Dutch well enough, I'm going to take a Dutch course. I decided in the new year online, just to improve it, so that really my grammar and writing sentences and emails and all of that. I feel a little bit insecure about it. So
it's a New Year resolution then for you.
Yeah, for example, one of them is to improve my Dutch and make it more. Yeah, sometimes I'm in the middle of a sentence and I'm not sure how to finish the sentence.
So you seem like you have a lot on your plate, and the next question would be, how do you manage to be a full-time mom and working mom at the same time? And how do you find the balance? How do you do it?
Yeah. Well, for me, I think the easiest thing, or the best thing, is that I don't do it all myself. I have an amazing support system. My husband is really a fully hands-on father, and he is I think definitely 50-50 with me. I would say he is just as much a parent as I am, and that's really helpful. I know that a lot of times for women, more of those duties fall on their shoulders, and I have really a partner in that, and that's helpful, as well as my parents-in-law. They also help watch her 1 day a week, and they also are willing if we want to do some kind of date night before Corona. That was a possibility. So just having those options, as well as she goes 2 days a week to childcare, like an in-home daycare, and the woman there, the gastouder. I think there was a German word for something similar, right? Yeah, Tagesmutter. Yeah. Jetzt weiß ich wieder. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, Tagesmutter. Yeah, and she really is like that. She's not just like a daycare worker. It's a small, intimate setting with just a few kids in her home, and it's like having another extended family member. So that's how I do it. I have my helpers.
Yeah, it's nice to have a lot of people who can help you if you are like need a break or like some free time.
Especially with your family in another country.
Yeah, because Netherlands is not your home country, or at least it wasn't some years ago, right? So you've moved 2 times already.
Many times I've moved.
More
than 2 times. Yeah.
Just tell us about that, and also what would be your advice then for parents who are thinking about moving, maybe with young children or having to.
Yeah, I think moving without children is already hard, and there are things that you need to consider and think about. But once you have kids, it's a very different situation. You see things differently, and you have to take things into account that you never had to take into account before. And what I would say is, if you are thinking about moving somewhere when you're pregnant or planning on having kids soon, or you already have kids, you should really look into the place that you are moving to, and what is in place for children? What is the school system like? What are the support options? Does the government give any kind of funding towards childcare? And what are the rules and the school? What are the norms for school? When do they start? What kind of school possibilities do you have? Here in the Netherlands, for example, it's very strict with there's something called leerplicht. So it means you are required to go to school a certain amount of days. We have it in America too, but it's kind of like,
if you want.
yeah, if
Can you homeschool in the Netherlands?
Jein, kind of. You can in theory, but you have to really justify it. So you can't just choose to do it because you want to. You have to really have a justifiable reason, such as your religion, or there are some exceptions, such as if you want to do a lot of traveling, and then you need to follow certain guidelines and rules, and you can apply for it and be approved for it. But for example, I'm not sure if my reason for being homeschooled would have been approved. I was homeschooled most of my secondary and middle school years because I was an athlete. And I think there may be, for really top level athletes, some exceptions in the Netherlands, but you would really have to have good reasoning for it and prove that you are doing the right steps to reach the national norms. So yeah, it's definitely a different approach to education here than it is in America.
So you said you lived in at least 3 countries until now. So the States, Netherlands, and Germany. Could you describe, or could you tell us like something that you liked in all 3 countries, or something that like impacted you or had a positive impact on you?
Yeah. So if I start where I was born in the US, that's kind of 50 countries in one. It's very different from state to state. And I think that the thing easily that I like the best about American people and American culture is kind of the friendliness. Europeans often confuse it with fakeness. They think that it's over the top and not real and phony.
Yeah.
But I think that when you are born in that culture and you are raised that way, that's not it at all. Yes, sometimes you smile and are friendly to somebody when you don't feel like it, but not because you are trying to be fake, but just because it's normal to you to do that, and it's kind of infectious in a way. Somebody talks to you on the street, it makes you genuinely happy. Whereas here, when I walk down the street, people kind of keep their eyes down, or if I try to talk to somebody, make some small talk, they kind of are like, why are you talking to me? I don't know you. You don't have a reason to talk to me. Whereas in the US, it's completely normal. I'm in line somewhere waiting for something. I have a conversation with a stranger, and that's just normal. Yeah, I went to my hair. Sorry?
It's who you are, how you were brought up, and it's part of
Absolutely. Yeah, I ran into another American at the hairdresser when I got my hair colored a few weeks ago, and we just had a full-on conversation about everything, because it was just 2 Americans, and I've never had a conversation with a Dutch person at a hairdresser, like just randomly, and that just isn't something I see happening as easily. So that's what I love about America and American culture. And then when I moved to Germany, it was really I definitely had a lot of culture shock. People were different, things were different, and I think I can't ever really put my finger on what I love so much about German culture, but I just think that it's kind of the right mixture for me of the really conservative, frugal, not over the top, do normal, as the Dutch say about themselves, be normal, the Dutch way, and the American kind of over the top way. It's somewhere in the middle, and it kind of hits me in the right spot. It's I think like the right balance of things for me. You work hard, but there's also a bit of humor and a little bit of extra kindness and understanding. Whereas in the Netherlands, the thing that I dislike about it is also kind of the thing I like about it. The really being normal and being conservative about things. And by conservative, I don't mean like American conservative, like the right wing or anything, but just people aren't very materialistic here. It's
probably.
Yeah. So it's much more like enjoying your work-life balance and enjoying your life and not buying things unnecessarily, or not about status for the most part. Of course, everything's a generalization here that I'm saying, but and I think that I really like that about the Netherlands, and it makes me feel like happy. But at the same time, sometimes I feel a little bit of the craziness kind of missing. Sometimes it's good to have that dream big and
Yeah,
go over the top. So
yeah,
yeah, it's the mixture of all three. They all have good things and bad things, and sometimes because I'm used to one of the things, I miss that when I'm in the other place.
yeah. I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, I find it very useful to have these different experiences of living in different cultures. It really, it's very useful, something that we can't replace just by visiting some countries, even for 1 or 2 months. If
Mhm.
you live there, you understand the people, understand their mindsets.
And
Yeah, and you probably become a bit more tolerant to new ideas. You still filter them through your own system and education and upbringing, but you can see different lifestyles, different cultures, different worldviews maybe. I think that's quite valuable. So you've been living in so many countries, and you have the experience of being a mother and a wife. With your understanding of the world now and of the values, would you do anything, or would you have done anything differently in your life until now, or would you change something if you could in your life?
Right. I'm not sure. I think mostly not, because I do think that all of the bad things have led to the good things, and it's not really. If I change something, then maybe some of the good things wouldn't have come that came.
yeah,
So probably not. I would, if I look back and think about my younger days, I do wish a little bit that I slowed down in some aspects and took more time to just enjoy that stage of my life. Like when I was younger, I did a lot when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. I worked a lot, whether it was extracurriculars or training for my sport, or if it was in college, working a lot of part-time jobs, trying to save money, get these extra, credentials. And I think maybe it would have been positive for me to slow down a little bit and just enjoy more time with friends, honestly, and family. And I think that if I had to change anything, maybe that. But then again, the possibilities that I had from doing those things, maybe I would have missed out on some opportunities. So the only thing that I can definitely say I would want to change is maybe spend a little more time with my dad. I did lose him 2 weeks after I moved to the Netherlands. So I was lucky that I spent that last summer at home in the US and spent a lot of time with him. So
that's nice. That's nice. Being able to spend time with family. So if there would be like one thing you could change, let's say in the world, do you have an idea that what that thing might be, or if you wish for something to change, what would it be?
I think maybe just have everybody be more understanding of each other. So this what we have from moving to different countries, that level of tolerance and understanding. Maybe tolerance isn't even the right word, but understanding, because tolerance sometimes I feel is a little bit like you just accept, like, oh, fine, you're different. But really understanding is a different thing.
More probably.
Yeah, because you're not the same as everyone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Mm.
Thanks
Yes,
a lot for sharing your thoughts, your experiences, and
maybe to close the loop, I mentioned that we met actually through our YouTube channels. Maybe you could tell us just a bit about your YouTube channels, because you have two, I understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have two YouTube channels. I have one that I started when the lockdown first came in March 2020. For my students, they needed to have some online lectures. And in Blackboard, there wasn't really in our university a good streaming service for videos, and we didn't have Teams and everything set up. So I ended up making a lot of lecture videos for my students. I had no idea what I was doing, and then I kind of figured out a little bit. know a little bit about the basics now, and I was really enjoying making videos, and I started making extra videos for my students, which turned into kind of growing my English business more online. So I always had on the side a business in real life, so to say. So I have one channel, International Yankee English, where I post weekly videos about English topics. And then I have one called Momming Abroad, which is about being a mom and being an expat, similar to your guys' channel.
Sounds really interesting.
So we will link them in the description below.
Yeah.
That everybody can see them as well. Yeah, I think that was it from our side. Thank you a lot for the interview. Thanks for sharing your experience as a mom, as an international person or expat, yeah, traveler. Yeah, and
we wish you happy holidays.
happy holidays.
Yes.
And good luck with your projects.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye.
This was the first interview we did, and we would love to hear from you what your opinion is regarding the new format.
Thank you for watching, and see you next time.